Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Cleveland Baseball Insider Guardians on Deck. I'm Brendan Gulick, getting you ready for opening day. How about that? Opening day is finally here after an off season where, honestly, we weren't sure if we were going to start on time or how many games were actually going to get played. We have a full season, 162 games on the docket, and the Cleveland Guardians get a chance to start the new era in franchise history. They're going to do it on the road, opening up with a 6-game road trip. They're going to start with 4 in Kansas City and then head to Cincinnati for a couple of games before coming home for the home opener on Friday, a week from tomorrow. That'll be against the San Francisco Giants on what is Friday the 15th, and also Good Friday here in Cleveland. All right, plenty to cover for you along the way, not just today, but all season long. And since we are new at this, we certainly hope you'll consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and also to all of our social media handles. You can follow all the latest news and information with Cleveland Guardians baseball on clevelandbaseballinsider.com, CBI on SI, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course right here on our YouTube channel. Would certainly appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing to our content. Opening day 2022. It's a day that we were certainly looking forward to for a long time and awfully grateful that it's here. Shane Bieber and Zack Greinke are going to pitch, a couple of Cy Young Award winners. They'll take the mound at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Shane Bieber obviously coming off of a 2021 season that was shortened for him because of an injury. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute. And Zack Greinke makes his return to Kansas City after bebopping all around Major League Baseball. He's now 38 years old, but he's had a heck of a run and is, I think, warmly greeted back by Royals fans, and looking forward to seeing him pitch here this afternoon. So Bieber and Greinke will take the mound. 4:10 first pitch in Kansas City. You can watch it if you're a Guardians fan. You can watch it on Bally Sports Great Lakes. If you're out of market, you can watch it on MLB TV. Of course, you want to listen to the game, Cleveland Guardians Radio Network. And you can also listen to it locally on WTAM 1100. Let's dive in. The Guardians 80 and 82 a year ago, a season that I think had some promising signs for sure. In fact, early in the year when the team was battling as many injuries as you could possibly imagine, they still found ways to pretty consistently win games. And, maybe open some people's eyes that a young roster is going to succeed. They enter the 2022 season with the youngest roster in Major League Baseball. The average age of the Guardians' 40-man roster is 26 years old. They don't have too many longtime veterans on the team, and they certainly have a number of players that are going to be contributing at the Major League level for the very first time, including in today's starting lineup. So more on that along the way as well. In the meantime, obviously the big news in Major League Baseball yesterday, and certainly the big news locally, Jose Ramirez reportedly signs a contract extension that will keep him here in Cleveland through the 2028 season. It's a 5-year extension. Of course, he's under contract for 2 years before the extension. The extension would give him up to $150 million over the next 7 years, and it was extremely well received by Cleveland fans all over the country, but certainly here locally yesterday. We will talk a lot about this along the way. I'm sure it's not officially signed yet because he's got to pass a physical, and the team actually has not officially announced it because he hasn't passed that physical yet. So we'll have plenty more comment on that once it becomes locked in and official. But I think it's a huge statement that this team is serious about winning, despite the fact that the offseason didn't have any big splashy moves, and was frustrating to see payroll numbers so low coming into the year. The Guardians took some chances along the way to try to bring on some other players. It didn't work out, and it felt like for a long time this deal might not get done. And then I don't know if it was officially the 11th hour of the self-imposed opening day deadline, but reportedly getting it done, and it's far and away the biggest contract in team history. We had a chance yesterday to visit with both Shane Bieber and with Terry Francona, who were asked about Ramirez signing that extension. Bieber elaborated a little bit more than Tito did, but here's what they had to say about Jose getting locked up.
You said it yourself, heart and soul. I know it meant a lot to Jose and the organization, of course, and the front office and everybody who had to, do the back and forth and deal with all that. But I think I can speak for the rest of the team. It means a lot to us as well. He's an incredible guy, incredible player. I mean, we say it, we're about to say it for 162 games straight, probably. So he talks with his play on the field, but to have him in the clubhouse and to continue to have him for the foreseeable future is important to me, the rest of the team, and to him in the front office. And I'm glad he's staying.
Hey, Shane, when you get asked about, I'm sure family and friends ask you about Hosey, the player and the person. When they do, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Energy, excitement, humble. I don't know. There's so much, right? An absolute, grinder on the field. Plays with his, heart and soul out there, blood, sweat, and tears. And it's just a guy that you, as a pitcher, you stand on the mound and you look over your right shoulder, and it's a feeling of comfort, knowing he's there, giving his all each and every play, and he's invested each and every play and inning and pitch and game.
Do you think he'll have the same strut in 2028? Will he keep that up?
Maybe a little bigger. I don't know. A little bit more of a shoulder lean.
Out of respect to things that probably need to happen, that's probably not an area that we can go. I think it's easy to say that we love Hosey being the kind of the leader of our ball club. And we love him representing us in every way, whether it's on at third, on the bases, in the batter's box, as a teammate. He fills all the checks in the box. So needless to say, we're pretty big fans of Hosey.
Yeah, no big surprises there from Bieber or from Tito, and certainly looking forward to seeing the ovation that Hosey gets on that home opener, because by then I would certainly think that contract extension will be signed, and it should be a lot of fun. I think this is the kind of thing that can really rally a fan base, and looking forward to seeing how Hosey's embraced, but also on how the Guardians choose to build around him, because you don't make a commitment like they're making to Jose Ramirez unless you're trying to really build something special around that kind of a player that they think could be the face of the franchise. It's kind of crazy to me to think that Jose Ramirez is the guy that finally got over that $100 million mark. There were an awful lot of players that have come through here for a long time that may have been worthy of that kind of contract. And it was the guy that didn't exactly have all of the fanfare and wasn't, a super highly thought of prospect coming up. He's the one that eventually gets it done and finds his way to that big contract extension. So 5 years, $124 million is the extension that's reported, would give him 7 years and $150 million over the next 7 years if you include the final 2 years of his current contract. So big news, and glad to have Hosey still here in Cleveland. Shane Bieber making his third consecutive opening day start. Obviously great to have Shane Bieber back, and it also talks to the consistency that the Guardians and Indians have had in their starting rotation, because since 2012, Bieber is one of only 3 pitchers that has made an opening day start. Justin Masterson, Corey Kluber, and Shane Bieber, the only guys that have started the season for the Indians or Guardians dating back to 2012. And it's great to see that Shane is, as you just heard from him, happy and healthy and back at it. He made a comment to us yesterday that Kansas City is a little colder and a little windier than Arizona is. Not a big surprise, although admittedly the temperature for today's game and this weekend should be much more mild and not the normal freezing April temperatures we're used to here in Northeast Ohio. Shane Bieber's had a great career so far. Obviously won the Cy Young in 2020 in the shortened season. First Triple Crown winner in Major League Baseball in about 15 years when that had happened. And I think there were those similar high expectations for him last year, and he pitched pretty well when he was able to be out there. But a shoulder injury basically cut him down, and he didn't have a chance to get out on the field nearly as often last year. 16 starts, had a 7-4 record last year, 3.17 ERA. Today's start for Bieber will be his 83rd appearance and 81st start in the major leagues. He's got a career record of 41-18 over 500 innings pitched, and he has certainly proven to be the kind of guy you can build your rotation around. And considering the contract extension that Ramirez just got, there's a lot of people wondering if maybe Bieber is next in line. Shane didn't want to talk too much about that yesterday. He just wants to go out there and pitch, and I think Guardians fans are looking forward to seeing him go do that here this afternoon. Beyond Bieber being on the mound today, I had a chance yesterday to ask him about the new technology that's been introduced in Major League Baseball. It's called Pitchcom, and if you're not familiar with the story quite yet, essentially it's technology that allows a catcher to use something on his wrist. It's essentially a signaling device. He presses a couple buttons to tell the pitcher what pitch he wants to be thrown. The pitcher finds out through a listening device in his ear, and up to 3 other players, theoretically your center fielder, second baseman, and shortstop, can also all have earpieces in. The idea is to try to take away some of the sign stealing that goes on in baseball and speed up the pace of play. Had a chance to ask both Shane and Tito what they thought of the new technology and whether they're interested in using it.
I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it. I felt like I tried it my last outing against the Rangers in surprise. Kind of got forced into it because I did forget my contacts, and so I had to get the pitches one way or another. But I think it's at one point in the first inning, I was averaging like a pitch every 8 seconds. So it does a lot for the pace of play. I had to slow myself down. I was getting a little winded, but it's good for a lot of different reasons: conviction, pace of play. Obviously, sign stealing becomes less of a paranoia, but I think there's a lot of benefits to it, and we'll see how many teams are using it tomorrow and if that changes throughout the season.
You know what? I think we didn't get a ton of time to practice it. The guys that did try it, I would say they were probably leaning towards liking it. There is something to get used to. Like, and the one thing is, all the pitchers were generally way more quicker in between pitches, and that's not a bad thing. But like even Bieber referenced, he goes, God, I was kind of tired. And we had checked, he was throwing a pitch every 7 seconds. I mean, that's really quick because, you think about it, their whole life, these guys are used to coming up, getting the sign, going, and now all of a sudden they have the sign, and it's like it's a little foreign. So for some of them, it may take a little while to get used to. I do think, we've all seen when there's a runner on second, the game can kind of come to a screeching halt. So that would certainly help with that. Saying that, they have to be comfortable doing it, and if they're not, it's not going to help them to do it. So we leave it up to them.
It's a pretty drastic change for sure. I can understand why Bieber would feel like he was getting a bit fatigued because he's so spread up, or I should say so sped up. I think about how much time you usually take around walking around the mound, rubbing up the baseball. There's probably wasted seconds if you're wanting the game to move a little bit faster. But if you're the one in the center of the diamond who's controlling the pace of play largely, I can imagine where you might feel like your own clock is being sped up faster than you're comfortable with, and it may take some time. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see this used on a pretty wide scale, as long as there's no glitches with it. And Major League Baseball has said they've done a lot of testing with it to make sure that, for lack of a better way to say it, it's not hackable. They are also putting, I believe their iPads, it may be a different, it could be a Microsoft Surface Pro or something, but I believe their iPads, that they're basically putting them in dugouts to make it a little bit more uniform across baseball who has access to what video during the games. They're obviously, making a lot of progress and trying to establish some written rules that could be broken where unwritten rules previously may have been broken. I'll be really interested to see how the technology evolves, but I am I'm in favor of that change. I just think it's going to make the game look a little bit different, and it might take some getting used to, but I think it's a good thing. And I'm glad to see that the leader of the Guardian staff is open-minded to it, and that Tito has basically said, look, it's up to those guys. If they want to do it, they can do it. It's not being forced on them. All right, we'll wrap up our Guardians on Deck show with a note on Stephen Kwan. Gosh, this guy was unbelievable during the springtime. He was, in fact, one of the best spring training hitters all across Major League Baseball. If you're not familiar with Kwan, he was drafted in the 5th round of 2018 out of Oregon State, where he played on one of the best college baseball teams ever. In his words, you'll hear in a second, he thinks they were the greatest team of all time in college baseball. The Oregon State Beavers have had a heck of a run in college ball. They won the national championship. But he talked a little bit about his struggles, and I asked him, upon his addition for the first time to this major league roster, Kwan was told, look, you're not going to play every day, and you got to figure out a way to stay ready. And I asked him if he had other experiences throughout his playing career where he wasn't an everyday player that he could maybe lean on that. I think he gave a really interesting answer here.
Yeah, my freshman year of Oregon State, I was terrible. Probably the worst ball player on the field at that point. Not good mentally, not good physically. It was funny. I remember my first college game. We were actually surprised for a tournament, and we played Ball State, and the starting pitcher was Zach Plesac. And that last name just domed me up completely. Just obviously I know his uncle and all that, and he's got, major league kind of time with there, but I crumbled there. I struck out twice. I missed a sign, didn't get a bunt down, missed a ball in the outfield, and just was not ready. Like, I almost cried in the dugout. So I knew right there that something had to change. What I was doing at that time wasn't going to do it. I sat out for probably a 2-month span, didn't start for a little bit. That was kind of the time where I had to dig deep and really figure out, what's going to work, what's not, put away the ego, put away the pride, and just kind of start back from square one.
How did you get over that hump? What was that, that driving force for you that allowed you to basically put the past behind you?
Yeah, it was twofold. It was, again, on the physical side and the mental side. The physical side, I had to completely restructure my swing. Day one of college, they told me that swing wasn't going to work. So I went in the lab with Tyler Graham, our player development at the time. We worked on that, but I think the big thing was the mental game. I just did not believe in myself. I simply was unbelievably insecure. I had huge imposter syndrome. I just didn't think I belonged there at all. We had all these high recruits, and I didn't feel like I belonged. So it was talking to a sports psychologist, diving into the mental game of meditation, visualization, affirmations, all those kind of things, and just kind of taking little bits from it and being able to apply it to my game.
Quite impressive for Kwan to be able to admit to himself, hey, this isn't working, but not give up on it. And he went on to talk about how much credit he gave his teammates for picking him up when he was really struggling, because he's obviously got the ability, but he had to basically scrap everything that he thought he knew about how to play the game and sort of rebuild himself. And he's rebuilt himself into a heck of a talent. This is a guy that's known for unbelievable plate discipline and his eye and his ability just to get the hands on the ball. He doesn't strike out virtually ever. A couple of these stats here are pretty remarkable. In his minor league career so far, he's had 341 plate appearances, and he's only struck out 31 times. According to Eno Saris of The Athletic, there's only 4 players in all of affiliated minor league baseball that have at least 300 plate appearances that struck out less often than Kwan did, and none of those other 4 players had a higher slugging percentage as Kwan's at .527. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to drive the ball out of the ballpark, but he puts the ball in play. He's smart. He's fast. He is exactly the kind of player that I think the Guardians are looking for out of young talent in the outfield. And he's going to start today. He's in the starting lineup. He's playing right field, and really looking forward to seeing how he adjusts to the major league level for the first time. So keep your eye on Stephen Kwan. I know there's a lot of fans looking forward to following him throughout the course of the year, and a lot that have been asking for him to get his way into the starting lineup. That's for sure. All right, that'll wrap up our coverage here of Guardians on Deck. Again, it's our goal to do this before every game all season, to try to give you a really good look at what's coming up today, each and every day of the year for that day's game. We've got a ton of content over on clevelandbaseballinsider.com, including our top 50 prospects across the system, many of whom you're going to see at some point this year on the big league level or are going to knock on the door of getting a call up. Awfully excited about the young talent on this team. And now that reportedly they've got their cornerstone piece and Jose Ramirez locked up long-term. And by the way, Emmanuel Clase locked up. That's now official. You certainly feel like things are moving in the right direction, even though it took a long offseason without a lot of news to get to that point. Again, I'm Brendan Gulick, ClevelandBaseballInsider.com, CBI on SI on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please, if you will, subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can continue to do this for you each and every day throughout the year. Look forward to following the Guardians this afternoon, 4 o'clock in Kansas City on Bally Sport Great Lakes. And, of course, on the Cleveland Guardians radio network as well. We'll keep you updated during and after the game on Cleveland Baseball Insider.